Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Underrated Movie Podcast, and welcome to Unreleased. This is a mini-series where we look at films that are unreleased, unavailable, and under a tax cut. I am your host, Derek McDuff, and today joining me to talk about a film that was released for a streaming service that only existed for 6 months before it went defunct, and that is Most Dangerous Game. Joining me to talk about it is a good buddy and fellow podcast host, Matt from the Matt and Mark Movie Show. How is it going, dude?
Yes, hello. And in the amazing words of Chris Rock, grand opening, grand closing. That's what the Quibi was. So there you go.
It really was. Yes. So I've been looking for some kind of excuse to talk about Quibi for a minute. So we're definitely going to get very into that. Of course, we're going to be talking about specifically their film released in chapters, Most Dangerous Game, based on the short story by Richard Connell, The Most Dangerous Game. They lost the it's cleaner. But Matt, before we get into all of that, what did you want to let the people know about yourself and about your podcast?
I want to let the people know two things. One, this podcast, I have a lot to say about Quibi. This podcast might last longer than the entire length of Quibi, the entire lifespan of Quibi. So listeners, get your snacks. We're going to be here for a while. Hi, I'm Matt from the Matt and Mark Movie Show. Always love to podcast with Derek. We are a movie show, my show, but we don't do anything as grand or as ambitious. Derek has a lot of great podcast series that I've been very fortunate to guest on. My show, when we can be bothered to record it, is a schlock show. We appreciate, like many millennials and zennials, I guess, our age, action movies, horror, cult, schlock from the 80s, 90s, and a little 2000s. So, and sometimes we talk new stuff. If you're interested in that kind of thing, definitely swing by, check us out, Matt and Mark Movie Show. The Mark in this equation is my good buddy Mark. We've been friends for over 2 decades, and I've had people say that it's a little like hanging out with your little brother, depending on your age. We're either hanging out with your little brothers or your older brothers, and you're hearing some things maybe you're not supposed to be hearing. That's kind of what our show is.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a good time. Everybody definitely go check the Matt and Mark Movie Show out. But yeah, I love you guys. You talk about schlock, but you bring a lot of film knowledge, which is why, other than, the fact that I think it'd be very fun to talk Quibi with you, I want to talk about Most Dangerous Game, because this is a little bit of a schlocky movie, So I was just curious, did you watch this when it came out, or was this your first time seeing it? Did you, I don't know, like, what's your history with Most Dangerous Game?
Well, I actually have a decent history with Most Dangerous Game. I love the original short story. To me, the best version of Most Dangerous Game was a version that we actually covered on my show, shameless plug, was called Surviving the Game, starring Ice-T, Gary Busey. Fantastic mid-90s actioner. It basically turns Most Dangerous Game into, if you can imagine, like a Vestron video style action movie where Ice-T is like a homeless guy who gets roped into playing the Most Dangerous Game. And it's awesome. This was before his Law and Order days, and we've talked at great length about it, directed by the great Ernest Dickerson, who rules. So I'm always down for Most Dangerous Game. I guess in a way you could even say The Running Man in some way is a little Most Dangerous Game, especially the new Edgar Wright one. So which this reminded me a lot of. So I was slightly intrigued. I will say slightly intrigued when Derek was like, "Hey, I want to talk about Most Dangerous Game with you." And then when I started to watch it, I became less and less intrigued. And I will just say, listen, we knock streamers. I think that the consensus, the popular consensus among our crowd is that streamer movies, right? Even movies like The Rip with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, the J-Lo movie where she's walking around in a mech suit. People are like, streamers have a look. They have a stigma about them, right? And I will say, if I would put any of those movies up against this fucking movie any day of the week and tell you those movies look like movies, this Most Dangerous Game looks like a television show. It's the most TBS Superstation looking movie I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with a show called Leverage. There was a series called Leverage with Timothy Hutton. It was like a heist show. That show, produced specifically for cable, looked more cinematic than the Most Dangerous Game in 2020, starring one of the Hemsworths. I don't remember which one he is. But yeah,
Liam Hemsworth, yes.
Liam, the great Liam. I'm sorry, sir.
Yes.
Respect to Liam Hemsworth. Yes. So I have a lot to say about this movie. I'm going to try. This is the first time, Derek, that I am more intrigued, I think, by what you have to say about this movie, because I was like, I think this might be the first time I've come on your show and I have just vehemently hated something.
Oh.
I think it's the first time. This might be the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time ever. And I've listened to many of you. Like, I listen to your show regularly,
Mhm.
and there's not many times. Mostly, when you listen to Derek's show, there's a consensus. That, like, you guys are hyping it up. You're selecting movies that you think are worth championing. I got to tell you, this might be the first underrated where somebody is in the tank for don't watch this movie. I'm going to tell you.
Okay. I mean, that's very fair because I'm on the boat of. I will say I completely agree with what you're saying about this having a very TV look. There's especially during some fight scenes. I'm just like, oh, like because Quibi was a streaming service that would, for people who are not aware, make quote unquote TV shows, and they would put them out in Quibi, which is short for Quick Bites. Quick Bites. These are 8 to 10 minute episodes of TV shows, but they also had what they called movies in chapters, which are these long form narratives. Like this is a complete whole narrative. I guess you could call it a mini series also, but it was a movie that was just chopped up to the point where now you can watch it as a film, but it was clearly made for the same budget that their actual TV shows were made for. And not to say that Quibi didn't have a lot of money. We'll get into it. They had $1.75 billion of startup money, but like it was not on the level of some of these other streamers that were being made like at a Hollywood level. But in watching this, I'm just like, and it's a little bit of just kind of schlocky fun for me. Whereas like I don't think this is a masterpiece of movie. It's pretty generic. It takes this concept of the most dangerous game. It really is not an adaptation of the short story other than there's guys that be hunting you. That's really the only thing it has in common, which is interesting because they actually call it most dangerous game because the year this is made, 2020, is the year most dangerous game slips in the public domain, so they don't have to be like surviving the game. They can actually call it most dangerous game. I think that what works a little bit better for me in this movie is other than the main character, I think that a lot of people in this are fun. I think that Christoph Waltz is just giving this ridiculous performance as he often does, very affable bad guy who is just kind of like, I am pulling for you, Dodge. Dodge is such a cool name. I wish that was my name. He's a lot of fun. I think the hunters, which are all like randomly named after presidents, I think they're very diverse, whereas they, like he says, they could be anybody. It's this southern guy, it's this this guy, this British guy with a
It
stick
could
of
be
his ass.
anybody in the crowd, but here are these 4 Guess Who like characters that are very specific, like Cajun man with Bowie knife,
Mhm.
ninja lady with like high heel boots, British guy who drives sports cars and has like a knife in his sleeve. Like, these are not anybody. The minute there's a hunter on screen, it's obvious right away. It's like, that guy's a hunter.
They did. The one that did get me was the woman, the Asian woman on the boat.
Girl on the boat.
Yeah, that did get me a little bit. I thought she was a fun character, and then you do clock the priest pretty quick that you're like, oh, this. But I like he's like a sociopathic African philosophy major, like it was
Yeah.
just like a sociology major. And I was just like, that's a weird, interesting take. It doesn't always completely work for me. I was just like, this is just some better than average stuff, and that I kind of enjoyed watching. By no means is this like something where I get on my soapbox. I'm like, wow, this is a great movie. More people need to see this. It's more of an excuse of me really wanting to talk about Quibi and finding something that I remember vaguely watching on it that would be definitely a movie, not a TV show, but was a movie that I had relative fond memories of that I would probably not have, to be honest, watched again if I wasn't doing this, but that I didn't hate rewatching. But obviously you had a different experience. I would love to hear more of your thoughts on the movie.
Yeah, and look, lo and behold, I mean, I know a lot of your listeners may not be familiar with me. I'm never a person who expects another host or another person to like defend their position. I find that like quite tiring. Like, I like hearing what people love about things. My motto on my show too is love what you love, but I also love to trash some shit on my show. So so live and let live. You know what I mean? Let me trash. I'll let you love.
Yeah.
No, by no means am I expecting Derek to, fucking Matlock his way through this conversation and make me and change my mind. I'm not looking for that at all. But I will say I am happy that you chose this for two reasons. One, it's a bit of a conundrum because what's a thing that at least I think a prevailing thing with a lot of our streamer series now, the big complaint, at least that I read in a few think pieces and critics and stuff that I follow, is that what? Every series feels like it doesn't feel like a series. That's what people complain about. It feels like a movie that's been chopped into 8 parts, right? Wednesday, Stranger Things, it feels like a giant movie that they cut up and that's the big complaint. And the weird thing about Most Dangerous Game is that is exactly what it is. It's a feature-length movie that they chopped up into episodes, but it somehow defies all logic and feels like a show that they stretched out into a movie to like painfully. So it's a little bit of a weird paradox for me. I find that aspect of it interesting. And I will say I didn't blanket hate everything. I love me some Christoph Waltz. He was great. I'll watch Christoph Waltz read a fucking label off a soup can any day of the week, and I will be perfectly fine with that. Okay? Perfectly fine. But I will just say that I thought the movie was a failed experiment. Although, you know what? What do I know? We could talk more about this in the Quibi section, but clearly Quibi was ahead of the time. Look at these TikTok dramas now that people watch that are 6 and 8 minutes. Are you aware of these? The other day I was in an Uber and a girl was I was like, are you listening to an audiobook? What is this? And she was explaining to me that there are like what they call them micro dramas. They're like 3 or 4 minutes and it's like quick soap opera hits of like, I'm sleeping with your brother. My brother's dead. Boom, end of episode. Next episode. Brother's back from the dead because he knew a voodoo guy. Boom, next episode. And people get super into them. And I thought about this because I knew at the time I was going to be reviewing this movie with you and talking about Quibi. And I was like, you know what? At the time, we all laughed at Quibi and we made fun of them. We were like, people are never going to watch this shit on their phones. They're never going to watch long-form narrative shit on their phones. And look, they were clearly ahead of the curve because now these microdramas on TikTok, they're a big deal. So I'll give Katzenberg that credit.
Yeah,
he was slightly ahead of there. But what sucks is everything about it sucks, in my opinion. Mainly stylistically, right? From a filmmaking perspective, right? When we have film, and thankfully I watched this on Amazon Prime, so it's not like the image was squeezed or anything, but you can tell it was framed for a phone. All of the action is so central. Everything. Like there's nothing dynamically, visually interesting happening in any frame. Every bit of action, you could totally disregard the left and right sides of your screen. Look directly in the middle. That is where the actor is going to be. That is where the action is going to be. So it has clearly been framed for a phone. And I find that just to be like the death of style, right? Have you seen The Fabelmans where David Lynch's John Ford is like, where's the horizon? That's what I kept thinking during this whole show. I'm like, why are we only pointing at the center of the frame? This is horrific.
It's interesting. It's boring as shit.
Yes, it's boring as shit. It's fucking interesting when the horizon is at the top or when it's at the bottom of the frame. Here, it's always in the middle. It would drive David Lynch's John Ford insane.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that I could forgive it if the action was at least compelling. For me personally, it was not. Let's get into some funny bits. Every time there's a fight scene, and I thought this is where the Most Dangerous Game has got to shine, right? He's got to have vicious fights. These people have weapons. They can't use guns. They go to painstaking, degrees to explain why they can't use guns. So we know we're going to get some close quarters combat. All of it to me is so stilted. It's like, there's a fight that happens with the like child soldier African priest guy where he's got a claw hammer and he's going to swing it down at Liam Hemsworth's knee. And behind him is a wrought iron fence for some reason inside the church. Okay, what is the most obvious thing that would happen? I would pose this question to like a room of screenwriting students. What's the most obvious thing we think we can do in this scene? Somebody would probably say, oh, he's going to swing the hammer back and he's going to get caught in the wrought iron fence. Yes, that is exactly what happens. There's been no other thought. The guy's hammer gets caught, boom, Liam Hemsworth gets away. And every fight scene is like that. Like, oh, if you think the Cajun guy is going to get, trapped and mauled after he makes a big deal talking about this gator story, you would be right. He does get trapped and mauled. He gets trapped and mauled right away. It didn't make it any less funny, but it was very predictable. I think the writer in me, I kept coming up with more clever scenarios, funnier scenarios for every situation, and the series or the movie just kept like undercutting me. It was like, I feel like I'm never this person who says, oh, I called it a million miles away. I was 10, but I felt like I was 10 paces ahead of this thing every time. So as a watch for me, not so exciting.
That's fair, because I do think the script of this thing is not its strength. I feel like there is a lot of moments when he gets into some kind of crazy situation. It's like, how is he going to get out of this? Oh, he hit the guy in the face. Okay, like there's some of that going on. I think the probably the strong. I think the characters are. I'm more of a fan of the characters than you are, especially that Waltz character. I don't know that Dodge, the main character. He's a little bit of a wet blanket. He's a little bit of a like generic everyman. I think Liam Hemsworth is a pretty underrated actor. I'm a big fan of his performance in the Hunger Games series. I think he's, given what he's given here, you do root for him. You do like him. But this script is just kind of a lot of moving things from A to B to C, and I wonder how much of this initially was like, we are going to actually make this a movie, and how much of it is like, we are going to make this a show, because I've watched it now both ways. I watched it on Amazon Prime for this, and then when Quibi initially came out, and I had that 90-day free trial because I didn't pay for fucking Quibi, but I definitely was like, I'm interested in checking this out.
That's a great motto for Quibi. I didn't pay for fucking Quibi. That's the motto of Quibi.
But I watched this in the chunks, and it's interesting because there's some points that work as like, oh, this is cool. Like when he's like, when does it start? And you see the sunlight start to creep in, and he just looks up and he's like, it just did. And cut to black. I'm like, that was a good end of it. But there's also like the first like 3 or 4 parts are just like, stuff that would start a movie. They're like backstory and backfilling information, stuff like that. And there's not a lot going on. And as episodes, they don't really necessarily work. And it got me thinking about like that interview that Matt Damon gave, where he's like, oh yeah, some movie, I think it might have been The Rip, something he just did for some streamer. And he's like, they wanted us to put all these big action scenes at the top to grab people's attention, putting things on. Because this doesn't really do that. This doesn't start with any action scene, which, given the fact that you have to get through 3 episodes of this to get to the action, I thought was showing a really surprising amount of restraint. For this, it's giving you the relationship between him and his wife, and you see that, okay, he cares about his wife, he's got his kid, it's setting the stakes, he's got no insurance, he's got to deal with all this. It's giving you all that build-up. And so I was, genuinely invested before it got to any... And maybe it's because the action budget wasn't there for this. It might be a Jaws situation where it's like, we didn't have the money, so it ended up working out. The restraint made it even a little bit better because we didn't have...
Hemsworth is not working today. No, what I will say, I think you're right that it is kind of refreshing that it essentially stretches what would be a first act in a movie to like way longer than it should be. Like the first act should have basically been the first 2 episodes, but it winds up being like the first 5, which is really crazy. So in that way, yes, that was refreshing. But then it falls into all the typical streamer crap. Like, okay, a lot of this Netflix stuff, like to your point about Matt Damon talking about The Rip, a lot of this stuff is built for second screen experiences, which is ironic because Quibi is already a second screen. You're looking at your fucking phone. So I don't know why we are designing things. What is that? Like it breaking the fourth wall. We're going like 2 second phone device squared. Right. So like,
there is no first screen.
Here's why, right? Here's why. So perfect example. Everything in this movie is announced. And I mean that quite literally. People they always say what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And not only that, story points are belabored like out to us, like out loud. Like there was a part I had to fucking laugh out loud. It's when Dodge is on the run and he hides in the trunk of this car with his family's driving, right? And they make it a point to literally have the 2 parents that are, before they get in the car, we know Dodge is going to try to hide in the car. The 2 parents out loud are like, "You didn't take the laundry out of the trunk?" They get in the car. What happens when he starts making noise? They pull open the thing. The laundry shoots out. He's like, "Oh, the laundry!" And there he is hiding behind the laundry. That's like a classic bit in this movie. And it was just funny because I realized, I was like, oh, they're doing that because it's that second screen thing. They have to spell out the stuff because they think you're not paying attention. But then it occurred to me, they're already watching on the second screen. So why are we doing this second screen business where we're announcing things out loud? Like, this is the kind of thing where, like, when the Cajun guy gets blown up, spoiler, the Cajun guy was secretly my favorite character, by the way, because he was so terrible. When the Cajun guy gets blown up, this is the kind of thing that happens. Like, they think you're not even looking at the explosion. Because I swear that fucking Cajun guy says, oh no, an explosion! And then it blows him up! And I was like, dude, this is like a Patton Oswalt sketch. This is crazy.
There were also, I will say, there were also some times when there was like a flashback to something that happened not that long ago, and I'm like, I get why this in a TV show needs to be here, because say you watch this episode, you know, a week ago, you might not remember the black car with the red door handles, but I'm watching this movie, for me, this happened 30 minutes ago, so there is a lot of artifacts for this being made. This is being one of the few movies I've ever seen that was made intentionally, not to be on a theater, not to be on a TV screen, but to be on a phone. Yeah. This is making, like, all these people, like Christopher Nolan is flipping over in his grave. You know, I know he's still alive, but like this is a movie that was specifically made for your phone. And so I think it's really interesting to dissect, well, how do they go about doing that and framing it? And something I want to return to that you said earlier was the framing of this movie. And right now, as this is going up, there's a big thing going on around right now about the new Disney movie. I forget the name of it, but it's about like a kind of magical girl, and there's something where it's like, okay, look, she's only in the middle of the frame.
Oh, Moana. You're talking about Moana.
No, not Moana. It's a new Disney animated movie.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hexed.
Yes, Hexed. Thank you. But it's like, oh well, she's only in the middle of the frame, and people have been debunked that. It's like that you cherry picking shots. It's actually much more dynamic than that. But this one actually kind of does that. Even if it's not the center, there is a clear portion, 1/3, whatever, of the frame that is supposed to be the action happening, because this is a movie that was made using the Quibi turnstile, quote-unquote, technology, where you could watch it either horizontally or vertically. And I did flip around with it a little bit the first time, and then I was just like, I hate this. Why would I ever want to watch something vertically? That's so fucking dumb. I'm just going to watch this horizontally. But it does work much better horizontally than vertically, because movies are not made to be fucking watched vertically. That's not... There's this great Subway take that as a guy just was like, we need to get rid of... The vertical thing is just like one of the worst things that's ever happened. Our eyes are horizontal. This is fucking stupid. So I think that really plays a big part of the way this movie looks, and it just being like, hey, we've got to chop this up and only show it from that. It's why the action, I think, suffers a little bit, but it's almost like from an academic standpoint, because other than like TikToks and stuff like that, there's not really, which you touched on, there's not really anything else that does that. Definitely not there's not going to be anything else that stars Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz that is going to be like, hey, this is made to be watched on your phone vertically.
Like, could you imagine, like, somebody's looking at their phone, getting... That was the other thing. I don't even think it was built in mind with, like, looking at the phone. I think somebody in the Quibi labs was like, they're looking at the phone, and they're also getting notifications, and they're also driving a car at the same time. So, like, it is truly built to not keep your attention, but to consistently remind you of every single thing that is happening. Christoph Waltz, God bless him, because he re-explains the plot to you and the rules maybe at least twice an episode. And that's every episode, including the ending, because he's got to do the whole bit when he kidnaps the wife. He's got to re-explain the whole thing. That was actually one of my favorite bits. It was so stupid. I was like, I am enjoying this because it's bad. When the wife is like, look what's happening with my husband. Where did he go? She's searching through the house. And she finds a card, Christoph Waltz's card, that's like this shell company. And they have a slogan on the card. And the slogan is like, assurance for people without insurance. And she literally steps into the center of the frame and she goes, dun, Dodge doesn't have insurance. And I was like, are you fucking kidding? That's the connection. That's how you made the connection where your husband is. But I had to laugh because like they really tried to get that center thing every time. Even when Dodge was like, I've had enough, man. I'm beat up. I want to go home. And he steals the cab and he pulls out outside of the house. The taxi cab is pulled, God bless him, to the right of frame. And I was like, oh, hey, look, we're using the other side of the frame. And then when you cut to her and you cut back to Liam Hemsworth, he's right back in the center of the frame. And I was like,
Yeah, no, it's just because like it was that was a big selling point for Quibi at the time, was like you can watch it either way. And I was like, I don't have no desire to watch it in this particular format.
Also, who's changing their minds? Like, I'm in the middle of watching it right in portrait mode. Now I want to switch. Like, what would you do that scene to scene? What maniac is watching things like that? Are you kidding?
Right. And I guess, this because this miniseries is on films that are unavailable, and this one has found its way to Amazon streaming at the moment. A lot of Quibi stuff, it went to Roku channel, and then once those rights expired, kind of got lost in the wilderness. This did actually get a follow-up sequel / season 2, which is called like either, depending on who you ask, Most Dangerous Game Season 2 or Most Dangerous Game New York, which I did watch the beginning of. I think it was actually aired on Roku because there's a lot of that stuff like Reno 911 revival, this, which they were like, people wanted to keep going. They were like, Quibi actually made some good stuff. They won Emmys, Free Rayshawn, there was that whole Princess Bride home movies thing. They made some interesting stuff, and I think this is maybe not up to that level, but it's certainly above a lot of like the man with the golden arm, who like the woman with the golden arm and the murder flip house and fucking all that other bullshit. Like, this is a much higher level of craft than I think a lot of the stuff that exists out of Quibi, and that's why I think it's one of the few things that continued, but so much of it just got lost after this. And what's been also completely lost is that vertical style. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's lost media. This way that you had to watch this movie, it was somewhat intended to be watched in, it can no longer be viewed in.
Yes, and I will give you that. I will give the creative team behind this that. There is some ambition there to make a product, right? Like when I'm talking to you about these TikTok microdramas, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, listener, I implore you to go and find them. They are horrific. It's porn without the sex. It's so cheap, and it's just not filmed well. They're not even trying. It's the most low effort crap you can think of, and sometimes I think the actors aren't even human. Basically, at least the Most Dangerous Game people attempted to be like, we're a network deal. Like, we are making something big. We're a flagpole. We're a tent pole, and we want people to come to the service for us. Okay, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it's just more of an interesting curiosity than anything, especially now because this lives on, if you watch on Amazon Prime, in its landscape form, but everything is centered to the center of frame, which is super, super weird. Was Most Dangerous Game, was Most Dangerous Game New York, was it framed the same way? And is it the character that they have the balls to introduce at the end of the movie as if we are going to fucking, like, it was, oh, Mr. Raoul, and he opens the file, and I was like, are you kidding? Is it that character?
No, it's not that character. I think it's David Castaneda is the new Prey or whatever. I didn't watch. I watched about 10 minutes of it, and because it starts off with they hone in on the fact that like what worked in that first one and what makes sense from a storytelling standpoint is, all right, we are going to do another hunt. We're not going to follow up at all with Dodge. We're going to continue on with this interesting shady organization, and so like the first 10 minutes is all of like it's like board meetings with Christoph Waltz being like, who is the next person? And we've got another investor coming in, and here's a guy from China who wants to be a hunter because a bunch of them died. And I'm just like, this is not it, man. This is not the stuff that I liked about that first one. What I liked about the first one is following a rather boring but compelling everyman, and seeing this shady organization, these people behind the strings, and like ruining everything and just kind of controlling his life. And we don't know much about these horrible evil people. They're just these in the shadow. And every once in a while, something I really appreciated was there was a couple lines that Christoph Waltz dropped, like where you get just enough that it's interesting about what is going on with this organization, where he says, well, how many people sign up for this? And he's like, well, more than you would expect given the nature of the game, but less than you would know given the nature of the world. Something along those lines. I thought that was a really great, line. And then later on, he's like, things are starting to devolve, and they're like, we got to call the game. And he's like, this has existed for 2,000 years. I'm like, what the 2,000 years? That is an insane piece of knowledge to just drop. But they never like follow it up. They're never like, here's the whole history. I'm just like, there's some crazy shit that's been going on that we don't even fucking know about.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say. The sequel was that it was actually a secret prequel. That it takes you back to the days of ancient Rome, and there's like, fuck it, it's just Christoph Waltz playing like the first guy who wrangles the games. Because that is, you're right, that line also stood out to me too, and I was like, are we seriously throwing lore in here? Like, there's been 2,000 years of this company? Like, listen, you know what? At this point, it's ballsy enough. I'll take it. Fine. Fuck it. I'll take it. I'm here for the ride. I don't give a shit. I will say, too, you know what I find annoying, by the way, is that we keep talking about it like a film. And it's not a film. And I will say this, and I'm not even being a sarcastic jerk and saying, this is technically not a film. No. If you go to the end credits, it literally breaks it down like a TV series end credits. It's episodes 101 to 104, episodes 105 to 1. So they are even, no one took the time to be like, look, if we're going to re-air this as a movie, we need to change our end credits so that it doesn't look like fucking TV credits. They themselves are not attempting to hide it at all. So to me, this is the most TV show movie I've ever seen.
Right. Yeah. Because they do try to play it both ways, right? They try to be like, well, this is a TV show, and each episode was like directed by different people. But they also be like, they like specifically at the time, Quibi advertised this as movies in chapters. They did it with this. They did with like the Survive, the Sophie Turner, Grey, kind of like fucking Yellow Jacket style thing. There's a few of them. And so that's why I was like, there's stuff that's like, this is just a show. But then they were like, oh, this is a movie, but it's also a show.
Yes. Also, too, by the way, sorry, I'm very scattered because this movie scrambled my brain like eggs. There was one moment I genuinely liked. I like to give credit where credit is due. I don't want to come off like a completely grumpy old man. There was one moment I genuinely liked because I thought it was clever, because I was like, okay, how the fuck's he going to get out of this one? It was the bit where he stole the jersey and he waited for the Detroit Red Wings game to get out, and then everybody's wearing the jerseys, and the British guy couldn't find them, and that was such a cool thing. And they undercut it 30 seconds later. Why would they do this? You have like a plot point that's actually working, suspense totally works, and they have the British guy notice him in the crowd, which is really super annoying.
And they also low-key stole that scene from Drive. Like that happens at the beginning of Drive. Also,
100%. One other thing that I did think was funny again on the whole Quibi thing is that did it seem, and this is not a knock on Liam Hemsworth, obviously. I completely forgot he was in the Hunger Games movies. Good for him. But did it seem to you, besides him and Christoph Waltz, even the casting, like it all felt very TV to me? I was like, I don't know these people. They all seem like TV actors. Like I know the Cajun guy is the guy from Lights Out, and he was actually in a TV show for a while called Revolution, where the power went out. But every other hunter, I was like, these are like, at first I thought I don't know if any Daredevil Born Again people are listening, but the British guy, I was like, is that fucking Bullseye? It's not. But every person, I was like, TV actor. Again, like, not to be this guy, I don't want to be Quentin Tarantino about it, but like, if you want this to feel like a movie, we need to put movie people. You've gone and gotten Liam Hemsworth. You've gone and gotten Christoph Waltz. I don't think it would have hurt to throw some other more, people who have had movies in their belt, notches in their belt for film, because it all just came off. If it already looks visually like a TV show, that soft HD look, you really got to bring it with the actors, because there's something about when you see Christoph Waltz in the dim light with like a monitor, you're like, this is a movie. But when you see, again, I don't want to go back to the boat lady, but it is I felt like I was watching a CBS show. I was like, is my dad in the room? Like, what is this? It was like the casting just seems so off. It didn't seem like a movie to me.
Stitch Fix. Stop shopping. Get styled. Not today, sweatpants. Somebody's wearing jeans that fit.
Wow! No photos, please. I'm just a regular dad who happens to have a stylist.
I really look my best when someone else makes the decisions.
Hey, we can all see you two-way mirrors.
Just share your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. Stitch Fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com. I want to hug you. I'm gonna hug you. I'm coming in for a hug.
Yeah, I mean, Quibi definitely had an MO of like we have a lot of startup capital from a lot of investors, and we're gonna be getting a lot of big names. Every show that we make / project that we make is gonna have 1 to 2 big selling points, and then they're going to kind of fill in the gaps through that. And there are a couple faces in this that I recognize. Devin Bostick, he's always a supporting guy, but he's a movie guy. He's the older brother from the original Wimpy Kid movies, and he's also in Oppenheimer. And people love to be like, this guy's had the weirdest film. Like, if you look him up, he's got such a bizarre film. He's like also in Okja and like one of the Saw movies. He's in very random movies. The other person I wanted to shout out, who's an actor I really like, and he's good in this, but I think maybe a little bit his strengths aren't utilized, is Zach Cherry, who admittedly is a TV guy. After this, he would really have his breakout in Severance.
Oh yes, the Severance guy.
Yeah. Severance guy. Yeah, he's I think phenomenal in this. It's funny because I was just listening to right before I watched this, I was listening to Blank Check, and he's on the Finding Dory episode, and it's funny because he's just so like engaged and funny in that, just talking about Finding Dory. And then just seeing him in this, just being like he still like has a couple riffs and one-liners, but he's a very different, much more serious character than I've ever seen him. And so it was nice to see him. But yeah, it does feel like, okay, we got a couple big names, and then we're gonna get some actors who are good actors, but maybe not on that same level. It's almost like in the Suicide Squad, the first one, where they have like the whole main Suicide Squad, and then they have. I forget which actor it was, but he's mostly a TV guy, and he's the man who can climb anything, and he died. Everyone's like, well, he's going to die right away, and they try to be like, no, he's a part of the team, and then he dies immediately.
He dies.
So it's a little bit like that, where you're just like, okay, they did bring in talented, but maybe not as big name actors in this.
Yes. I'm just surprised. I mean, Quibi clearly had money to spend, had capital. Like you said, they're netting. Christoph Waltz is an A-lister. He's an Oscar winner, 2-time.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is big. You're spending money. You can throw a little bit more money around and get some movie actors in here too. You like some character bits. Give us some stunt casting. One of those hunters couldn't have been, I'll make it up, like a Danny Glover, somebody that we recognize that you're like, he's too friendly. He would never kill anybody. Because that was the problem for me. It was that every decision was made immediately. Every new scene, I was like, I know exactly how this is going to play out. I know exactly who the twist character is. Oh, there he is. There was never any There was never any attempt to surprise me. It's very strange. There's like an ambition and a lack of ambition running concurrently, which I don't understand.
Which I think sums up Quibi pretty well in general. Like, because Quibi was like this big thing there, and now it's like, this is the thing. Like, I remember, when it was like the build up to it coming out. Like, I could not turn on the fucking TV without seeing some bullshit Quibi ad. It was always like, hey, Quibi, it's a quick bite. There's somebody on the dribble. And then they even had, like, that Super Bowl ad where it was, like, a bank robbery or something. Like, Quibi was every fucking where, but nowhere the same. It was something where it felt like it was, like, this is a very big deal. Like I said, it's got all of these stars, huge stars, billions of dollars in startup money. People like Steven Spielberg are involved. Jeffrey Katzenberg's old buddy. He gets him on board, and they are just really going all in. And then it's funny because they blame a big part of the reason that this failed on the pandemic, which you could maybe make the argument for, but to compare it to something else you brought up, which is TikTok, which is doing a lot of similar things. TikTok grew about 500% in terms of viewership during lockdown. YouTube grew during lockdown. And this was like, no, like, because Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, I think that it was limiting in terms of like how you can watch this thing. It's like, you can only watch it on your phone. You can't record anything, you can't screenshot anything, so it's really tough to share. You can't even cast it to your TV. So let's say, hey, I'm watching this, and I would much rather watch it rather than on my phone. I would rather watch it on my TV. And they're like, no, you just can't do that. Like, it didn't become available to do until October, which is the same month they announced, actually, this thing is shutting down in December. So, very, very just strange business strategy. And they love to blame COVID, but I'm like, if anything, this was probably the best time to launch a streaming service. This is when everybody has nothing to do but watch new content. And they made like 75 new shows and movies. That why would this be a bad thing for you? You know, it's a bad
Derek,
thing.
we were all too under the spell of the Tiger King to notice Quibi at the time.
Right.
It was by law, we were required. Everyone was required by law to watch the Tiger King, and we did.
That and The Last Dance. That was all we're allowed to watch.
I agree with you. I think it is ludicrous. Everyone was home. That's that's what you gotta love. That's when I love the general public. They responded with apathy. They did not care. Your product, and by the way, the bar is not high. As you said, TikTok goes to 500, grows 500%. There's no bar for quality here. It's just that these people genuinely, it didn't move the needle for them.
Right, those TikTok things, which are a lot of them are like made from AI, for like $0, and are like the sloppiest, worst bullshit you'll ever see. Like, I was like, this is like made by humans, like actually blood, sweat, and tears put into this. Somebody cared about this. Fucking somebody just makes some AI prompt bullshit, and it's like getting all these views. The fact that it's doing worse, that is doing worse than something with like huge A-listers with things that cost millions of dollars to make, is astounding.
Yes. I also want to know now, who was the poor bastard who is, watching Quibi, sitting on the toilet, and then gets the notification that in a month their subscription is just going to be moot, completely over, and he's got to hurry up and hustle through every shit he's going to take over the next month has got to be dedicated to Quibi. He's got to poop it out, and he's got to get through all the content on the app before it shuts down.
Well, I have an interesting anecdote that is very close to what you're describing, and that is to go back to Reno 911 for a second, which of course we said gets the Quibi revival for this. And Thomas Lennon was on set doing a scene where he's like shitting in a bucket, like he's pretending to shit in a bucket, and they do this, and he's like, everyone around him he's hearing some hushed voices, and they cut, all right, rap scene's done. And he's like, what's going on? And they're like, Quibi's done. Quibi is. So he literally got did what you're describing, taking a shit, got the notification that Quibi, and he's like, well, this whole thing is for Quibi, so what the fuck do we do now?
Derek, I not only can predict the most dangerous game, I can literally predict real life events when it comes to Quibi. That's how predictable the model is.
Yeah, you will make a boatload on Kashi. But so I want to know then, what's your history with Quibi? Did you have it?
I didn't, and it was purely it was twofold. One, I have too many streamers as it is. I'm always I'm that friend who has too many streamers. I have too many streamers now, and I churn. There are some that I ditch and come back to, but I pretty much always carry about 5 to 6, and then I have all the free ones, your Plutos and your Tubies, and I swear by Tubi. I didn't get it for 2 reasons. One, it was the automatic couched response of I have too many streamers. And 2, I don't like to watch things on my phone. I don't already like to be on the phone. The phone is very overwhelming for me. Too many people are texting. It's just annoying. So I can't imagine trying to watch something on my phone. I'm very much a TV guy. Now, sometimes I will watch stuff on the iPad, but it's very much a second screen experience for me. I really go to the television. So it just wasn't made for me. And I was looking at the content, and I liked Reno 911. And by the way, I completely forgot that was even on there. Reno 911 might have been an enticing offer for me, but most dangerous game. I remember there was something else with Dane DeHaan where he was hiding in a car or something. I was like, I don't care about this. I didn't care enough. So to me, I was kind of just reading all the jokes online about it and just kind of, hate watching as people would come in and dunk on them. And that's my experience with Quibi. I had not thought about it until this show, until you were like, hey, I want to review this with you. And I was like, it's a name I have not thought of in many years.
Right. Quibi, it's just so astounding because, as I've said, they put so much money into it. It comes from Katzenberg, who is somebody who has a very good track record. You know, he worked at Disney, like basically oversaw the rise of the Renaissance. You know, he was there from '84 to '94, so pretty much helped kick that into gear. Then he leaves Disney to go found DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg. He teams up with Meg Whitman, she's like a CEO of like eBay and stuff at the time, and so like and they get all of this talent on board, all this money, and it's just like, I think one of the things that really did shoot them in the foot, like you said, is that you couldn't watch it on TV, because I'm the same way, where I was like, I don't want to watch something on my phone. I would much rather watch it on at least a laptop. There were no options for that, and it was just Katzenberg locked into his style of thinking. It was like, oh yeah, people are addicted to their phones. This will be the way to watch it. But YouTube lets you cast things to your TV. I watch most YouTube shit on my TV. I don't watch it on my phone.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, unless I'm at work, really, and obviously nobody was at work, and they couldn't have predicted that necessarily. But still, like, why, if you're making something, and this is supposed to be ostensibly, there's some stuff in here that's supposed to be like movie quality level stuff, theater level, like adjacent at least. You know, they're getting nominated for Emmys. They're getting respected people who have, like you said, Academy Awards, who have been like years and decades of film history, both in front of and behind the camera. And they just are like, no, you can only watch it in a way that is the most annoying way possible. It's the thinking behind it is so backwards, and then they give up so quickly because they're like, well, we blame it on the pandemic, right? It's really COVID's fault, even though that explanation makes no sense. But the thing is, it starts in April, so it's like right lined up with the fucking start of COVID.
Yeah.
When this thing folds is December, so right when the world was not back to normal, but we were starting to be like, okay, we've all been at work now for a couple months. Movies are now getting ready to start coming back out in theaters. There is a sense of normalcy. We're going to go back in the world. And that's when they're like, oh, now that this thing that we've claimed has been killing our app, we're just going to throw in the towel. Like 6 months is an exceptionally short amount of time for anything, much less a streamer. There's been things that have been like the Civil War, the Confederacy lasted 4 years. They were a huge failure. They lasted 8 times as long as Quibi.
And they used all sides of the frame. I would also like to point out too. Don't have to just look in the middle. Can look anywhere and see the Confederates. Great.
You can look and see that X all over. It's a lot.
It's all over the place. They're in the trees. They're in the sky. Look on the grass. Yes, exactly. I will say this too. I was thinking about another company because I was like, okay, you look at tech company fads, right? They're trying to like predict what the behaviors of their consumer base. One of the greats, they fuck up all the time. Nintendo, one of my favorites, and I'm a lifelong Nintendo fan. They fucked up. Look at Virtua Boy, Wii U. They fucked up big. But you know what's fun about Nintendo? They take the hits and the mistakes. Virtua Boy has now had a renaissance. It's back. You could get it on Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes. Shout out to my buddy Jamo, who, for my panel on video game, was dressed up as a character from a Virtual Boy commercial.
There you go. See, like that was for years a scarlet letter that they wore, and now they brought it back. So I think it is very telling. You know, this is a giant corporation. I think it's very telling that Katzenberg was like writing on the wall, was like, we got to go. That means either. I think to me, this is all board of directors, rich guy shit. I think people were like, this is not working, and all of our investors do not want to spend any more money on this. They don't want to watch shit on their phones. Half our investors are 80 years old and they can't see the screen on the phone. It's too tiny. So they're pulling out, and he was like, oh, fuck, I have to jettison the whole operation. Quick, let's blame it on COVID.
Yeah, and apparently there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that wasn't working very well. Like pretty much from the jump, Katzenberg was not getting along with Whitman. They had to like eventually have offices on, adjacent floors because they were just like cats and Bergs and dogs, I guess. I'll be here all week. But like that, it just really was just a clusterfuck at every level. Where it does, like you say, it seems like a tech guy's idea of like, what do the youths like? They love their phones, so we'll make something that they can watch on their phones, and we'll just pump more and more and more money into it and just kind of ruin it. It's like the whole rebrand of Twitter to X is just like, we bought this thing for a bunch of money, and we'll just keep pumping money and like doubling down and down and down. And this one is just like, this was never going to work.
Yeah. I was thinking about this today too. I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to go on Derek's show and I'm going to be mean about Quibi and I'm going to be mean about Katzenberg. And I have been. But I thought to myself, in fairness, what would I have done different? Is there a way to make Quibi work? I thought this would be an interesting thought experiment because I was like, well, it's already flawed, right? The medium, the phone, it already sucks. And it's not enough for it to be like, well, you can watch it anywhere, because then it's noise, because then it just becomes part of every other streamer, and every other streamer's got them beat, and they have the pedigree, they've got the shows you already know, they've got your House of the Dragons and your Stranger Things and all that stuff, right? So how would Quibi stand out?
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
And I think, I'm not even kidding, I think the answer was right in front of them the whole time. My idea for what I think Quibi should have been, I think they should have brought the price way down. Whatever it was, cut it in half. Make it supremely accessible, like stupid, like it's 99 cents a month, something dumb. Because you're going to watch ads anyway. Voters' choice, viewers' choice. I think they should have turned Quibi into an app where, kind of similar to a choose your own adventure, every option was you could vote. You could get to a certain point, not so much like a Bandersnatch situation, but get to the end of an act break and be like, vote. Should Dodge kill this guy, or should Dodge get away and see his wife? And then have both of those pre-shot, and whatever the votes come out, they clock it at a certain time, and that's what they get. And I think that would be my idea. I think people would get into that. At least their subscriber base for sure. Might not net new people right away. But if they wanted to have some tech reason to be on the phone, that's like the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, no, I think that's really smart. I think that would be really cool, especially, that is one way I think you could utilize the vertical style. And I think also beyond that, just like leaning into what's working for you. Like we said, there's not a lot, they don't have a pre-established library like a Disney or like Netflix, which has all these other, third-party things. It's all original content. Maybe license some stuff, that you can break up into chapters. Maybe there's something out there you're like, oh, well, this movie, it's kind of episodic. Maybe it does work as a Quibi. Do something like that. And then also being like, okay, well, people seem to like Most Dangerous Game, or like people seem to like Reno 911. We have that property. That is something people legitimately really like. Another thing that really worked, and this is interesting because this only happened because of the pandemic, but my favorite thing that was on Quibi, and the reason I initially downloaded it, was because they did a whole, I don't know if you remember this, but they did like the home movies Princess Bride. Did you ever see that?
I heard about it. I never saw it.
It's so cool. So for people who aren't aware, it's basically when everybody was in lockdown, like the first couple weeks, they just were like, hey, whoever wants to do it, like here's like this scene, here's the Cliffs of Insanity, here's like the final battle, here's whatever it might be. And it's just big celebrities quarantined in their house using like whatever like DIY, like Jack Black is going to put a mop on his head to be Buttercup, whatever it might be. And they just remade the entirety of the Princess Bride. So you're watching this like very homemade thing, and it's these big actors. It was so good. And it also like went to benefit charity and stuff. It was so cool. Lean into stuff like that. Like, don't be like, oh, COVID's killing us. Find a way to make it work like that, all right? And that's I think something that's lost now. You can still find bits and pieces of YouTube, but I remember being like, this is so cool. I want to show my family. I can only show them on my phone. Why is that? So make it accessible. Make it play on stuff that works. And then by the time the Emmys come out and Free Rayshawn wins an Emmy or two, I think Lawrence Fishburne got an Emmy, I want to say. I'd have to double check that. But Quibi was gone. So I almost wonder, is there an alternate universe where they are like, hey, we're going to retool, we're going to scale down, we're going to focus on these things that have worked for us, where maybe we are still watching Quibi today. Maybe Quibi it's not going to be like a Netflix killer, but maybe Quibi is like on the level of Tubi, you know what I mean?
Dude, it's like Demolition Man. All food is Taco Bell. Everything is Quibi. In this alternate universe, everything is Quibi. We don't watch streamers, we watch Quibis. Every streamer has become a Quibi now. Yes, that's right. We can all watch things on our phone.
Right. Do you think there was ever a world where they could have doing that stuff, doing the choose your own adventure stuff, like you said, where they could have made it work, where they could have stuck out like a few years and like it could and gotten over that hump and like, okay, we got past that initial 6-month hardship. Now Quibi's still around to stick around. Do you think that could have ever existed?
I think they would have had to have made some serious content choices, cut the shit that's not working, lean into the stuff that people like you're saying, your Reno 911s, the Princess Bride experiment, that kind of stuff. And then I think, look at how interactive everything is now. I know that's silly to say. I'm not just talking about phones and the internet, right? I'm talking about like, if I watch a game, I'm a baseball guy. If I watch a game, I'm bombarded positively, whether it's on cable, whether it's on my iPad, whether it's I'm casting with ads to bet, sports betting. I think this also could have been the future of Quibi, to bet on the outcomes of certain things. Tell me that's not an interactive seller. That gets all the gamblers of the audience going, and you got some money that you can redirect back into Quibi. Do I think there's a world where it works? I mean, maybe in a sick Futurama way, sure. Maybe there's a world where everything's a Quibi. I don't want to be in that world. Even if they were like, look, we were dicks, and we've decided we are going to make Quibi shareable. You can cut a scene. You can send this to your friend because maybe it'll net us new subscribers. Even in that, even if they slacked up on that stuff, I still think it's a massive miss. I think people just would never. But although, I mean, these micro dramas on TikTok, they're a lot bigger than you think. And even this girl, she's not even watching them in the Uber, by the way. This is, I know it's purely anecdotal, but like you can see the views are in the millions. She has the phone not even up to see the screen, thankfully, because she's driving. She had the phone in her seat. She's listening to it like an audiobook. And to me, listen, is it a well-written audiobook? No, it's crap. But to her, it's entertaining. She's following a story, and it's written so bluntly, you can follow it and not even see the picture.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I don't really see a world where this necessarily ever took off, but they really did not even give it a chance. Like 6 months is insane. I don't know. Any other like last thoughts on Quibi?
No, I think
it's definitely a fascinating story, right?
It's like a dog in the park. We have lifted our leg and we have marked Quibi with the urine. It's over. We have pissed on the grave of Quibi. I will say, I think that Most Dangerous Game, the more I talk about it, I think it's one of these, I won't even call it a movie. It's one of these pieces of content that is more entertaining in the conversation afterwards than the actual watching of it. Because I got to tell you, Derek, watching it, my patience began to wane by the midpoint where I was like, I literally paused the stream and I was like, how much more do I have? And I was like, Jesus Christ, there's an hour and 2 minutes left. I thought for sure I was in the home stretch and I hadn't even cracked the surface. And I got to tell you, it was a hard watch. This was the first time that I've ever been on Underrated. I've been on any Derek show, and it's been a hard watch. Every other thing I've watched for this show, I have at least enjoyed or outright loved. This was the first time, and I was like, well, maybe this is the first like negative episode they're doing. And he thought, who's the most negative podcaster I can get? I'll call Matt. Good choice, by the way.
No, there's many a more negative podcaster out there. But I was like, I feel like in Matt's wheelhouse to come in and talk about Quibi. That was what I was most excited for. And Most Dangerous Game, as I said, it was kind of an excuse for that. It is a movie that I'll say ultimately, my last thoughts on Most Dangerous Game is that I feel like there are certain genres for me where I'm like, if you just make this thing competently enough, I'll be like, here's 3.5 stars on Letterboxd. I enjoyed that. I think it's this and it's rom-coms where there can be real bad, like there's some bad rom-coms, there's some bad action thrillers, but I do love an action thriller, you know? I love thrillers in general, and when you just make them like some fighty, punch in some thrillers, like, I fucking love the Jason Bourne movies. That is my bread and fucking butter, and I'm not comparing these to Jason Bourne movies at all, but you know what? I had a good time seeing Liam Hemsworth punch some guys and then like get on the phone and be like, man, fuck you, Christoph Waltz. And Christoph was like, well, I do like you, but I did lie to you about everything. Sorry, but I'm pulling for you though. Like I had fun with it. And you know, that ultimately is why I think it deserves to be at least mentioned here on Underrated.
Oh, for sure. I will say too. I will say, I got to, you do a good Christoph Waltz, by the way. You do a good Christoph Waltz. Yes, that's me, by the way. That automatic 3.5, that's me with any animated Halloween special. If it's an animated Halloween, it doesn't matter. And I've seen some stinkers. But I love me some animated Halloween TV specials. That's an automatic 4 stars for me. So I totally get where you're coming from. And one last thing. Most Dangerous Game 2020 makes Bourne Legacy look like the Bourne Supremacy. That's the connection I see there.
Pretty fucking good. I appreciate that. Well, Matt, the last question I have for you is, this is a series about unreleased and unavailable films. Do you have a white whale out there? Some like movie that you're like, man, if I could only see the original cut of the Magnificent Ambersons, or like this, or like the Batgirl film that we never got. Do you have a film out there that is yours that you would love to see that we're just like probably never gonna get?
Yeah, and it's a boring answer, but I would love, and have been chasing this since film school, and that's a long time ago for me. You're talking decades. I have been wanting to see The Day the Clown Cried, which is the Jerry Lewis movie that he stars in and directed. Very famous, very weird movie that has been locked away from civilization. No one has seen it, where he plays a clown during World War II who leads children into the gas chamber. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. It's not a comedy. It's a drama. And just out of sheer curiosity, because it has this stigma around it and this reputation as being like one of the true lost films that probably only Jerry Lewis has seen or had seen, rest in peace. Mm-hmm. That's mine. It's The Day the Clown Cried. I would love one day, kind of like when Harper Lee's her husband was like, she wrote another manuscript. Like, it's been, you know, I would love if somebody from Jerry Lewis's estate was like, hey, guess what? Fuck it. We are hard up for money. We don't want to be like Quibi and go belly up. We want to take the money. So we've sold The Day the Clown Cried to Vinegar Syndrome, and they're going to make an awesome 4K. They're going to restore every frame. And you're finally going to get to see this film that's been buried under a ditch for 50 years.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting, because from my understanding, a big part of that reason it never came out is because people were like, I don't know if we should watch this movie about a clown leading kids to their deaths to the Holocaust. Like, they're like, I think Jerry Lee Lewis was like, you know what, maybe not, guys. Like, and so just, I think that adds to the reputation, because, you know, these are all movies that we were talking about that I have been able to watch in some way, but there are some that are just truly unavailable, and that is, I think, one of the totemic ones for sure.
Oh, 100%. And there's also just fun TV ones from the 90s. So I don't leave you on such a sad note. I believe there's a special. You can find it on YouTube. It's called The Last Halloween. And it was a tie-in with Mars Candy. And they had it was like one of the first attempts at like having a fully CG character like integrated into like a live action show. And he was a Martian who came down to learn about Halloween. And I always wanted like a decent DVD or Blu-ray of The Last Halloween. And it only exists on YouTube now. It's just like somebody uploaded like a recording they made. So it's got the commercials and everything. So there you go. My sad one with the clown and my happy one with the CGI Martian and Andy.
Very, very good choices. Well, Matt, as always, it has been a blast getting you on here. I loved getting to talk about Quibi with you. It was a long gestating idea that I had, and I'm glad, because that, honestly, I will say, I was not really sure. I've been planning this miniseries for a while, and I was kind of, at least like for a while, I was like, oh, maybe it should just be like streaming movies or unavailable streaming movies. I'm like, I could do a whole thing on Quibi. I was like, well, that's a lot for a series, but I'm like, I do still need to talk about Quibi on this series. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to do that.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to talk Quibi. I'm actually glad that, because now, Derek, you gave me something I didn't have 6 years ago during the pandy, I had a Quibi experience. Now I can say, I can live my life. I can go on vacation. I can see my relatives and say, I now understand Quibi firsthand.
There you go. Exactly. Wear it with like a badge of honor.
They're like, what happened to you, Matt? Were you mugged? Did you fall down the stairs? Are you dealing with trauma? Yes, I have experienced Quibi firsthand.
Well, if anybody out there would like to hear more of your takes that are not necessarily Quibi related, where can they find the Matt and Mark Movie Show?
You can find the Quibi and Quibi Movie Show, Matt and Mark Movie Show. We're on all the platforms. Find us on the socials at the Matt and Mark Movie Show. We're doing some fun stuff over there. In the to coincide with the release of the Odyssey, we just reviewed Troy, where we posed a question of who Trojan horsed it better, and I'll leave you to figure that one out. But we have a good time over there. So come join us. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and then anybody out there who's listening, I would love if you to check out some more of my stuff. Obviously, this is in the middle of a mini-series, so I've got a couple episodes left. Going to be talking about next time, talking about the film that was originally made for Disney Plus and then taken off Disney Plus, and you cannot watch it anywhere now, and I can't even get a DVD Togo. Then I'm going to be talking about finishing the series with a version of a film that was taken away from a director that people for years yelled about in a way that was not always super chill, but definitely going to be interesting to talk about, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to close out the series. Then I'm going to be doing a couple fun things leading up to my 200th episode. Talk about Princess Mononoke and how it specifically relates to The Legend of Zelda. I'm going to be airing my live episode that I'm going to be filming at a museum here. Going to be doing a Halloween episode with my girlfriend, and then episode 200 is going to be Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So a lot of fun stuff coming down the pike here, and there's some other stuff: Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, Midnight Film Society. I'll be also at a panel at Comic-Con. So that is going to be coming out right around when this episode's dropped. So there'll be a bonus episode soon. Find all that at underratedmoviepodcast.com or Underrated Movie Podcast on any of the socials. But yeah, Matt, thank you one more time for coming on, and I'll see everybody next time.